The hallway was crowded, buzzing with the usual morning chaos. Lockers slammed, footsteps echoed, and voices overlapped in a messy symphony of teenage life. Among the sea of students, Ava walked with her head slightly down, clutching her books close to her chest. She was the kind of girl who blended into the background, quiet, polite, and seemingly harmless. But that morning, something happened that would tear through her silence like a blade. As she passed a group of boys leaning against the lockers, one of them, a tall, smirking senior named Derek, stepped forward and blocked her path. She tried to step around him, but before she could, his friend Matt reached out and grabbed her chest with a disgusting laugh. Everything seemed to freeze. Her eyes widened, her breath caught, and her hands trembled. The hallway erupted into cruel chuckles, but most students quickly looked away, pretending not to have seen. Ava's face burned with humiliation and rage, but she said nothing. Derek shoved past her, muttering something obscene, and the group walked off, still laughing. Everyone thought Ava would do what she always did, stay quiet, endure it, and disappear into the background. But they didn't know about her hidden past. 3 years earlier, Ava had been a completely different person. She'd been confident, outgoing, and fearless, until a tragedy shattered her world. Her older brother, Liam, had been her rock, her protector, and her best friend. He taught her how to box, insisting she know how to defend herself. "You're stronger than you think," he'd tell her while wrapping her hands before training. But one rainy night, Liam was killed in a car accident caused by a drunk driver. The grief crushed her spirit. She stopped going to the boxing gym, stopped smiling, stopped talking. By the time her family moved to a new town, Ava had built a shell so thick no one could get through it. That day in the hallway, however, something cracked open inside her. The humiliation stirred the fighter in her that had been buried under years of silence. She could still hear Liam's voice in her head, calm, steady, unwavering. "Don't let anyone treat you like you're less than you are." Ava didn't explode right then. Instead, she walked away, her steps steady, her eyes cold. She had a plan. After school, she found Derek and Matt in the parking lot, leaning against Matt's car. "We need to talk," she said, her voice low but firm. They laughed, calling her names, telling her to relax. Ava didn't flinch. "You put your hands on me. You're going to regret it." Derek stepped forward, towering over her. "And what are you going to do, huh? Cry to the principal?" Ava didn't answer. She simply dropped her backpack to the ground. The boys didn't take her seriously until she moved. In one swift motion, she sidestepped Derek's lunge and slammed the heel of her palm into his chest, sending him stumbling back. Matt lunged at her, but Ava ducked and delivered a sharp, controlled punch to his gut, knocking the wind out of him. Both boys staggered, their arrogance replaced with shock and fear. "Touch me again," Ava said, her voice like ice, "and you'll remember this day for the rest of your life." She turned and walked away, leaving them stunned. The incident spread through the school like wildfire. Some students whispered about how Ava had snapped. Others admired her courage, but Ava didn't care about the gossip. For the first time in years, she felt like herself again. She went home, pulled out her old boxing gloves from under her bed, and just stared at them. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of taking her power back. The next challenge came when the school administration got involved. Derek and Matt had, of course, twisted the story, claiming Ava attacked them for no reason. She was called into the principal's office and asked to explain herself. Ava could have stayed quiet and avoided trouble, but she knew that silence had cost her too much already. She told the truth, every detail, every humiliation, and for once she didn't feel ashamed. The principal listened carefully, then called in both boys. Their smug expressions faded as Ava repeated the story in front of them unshaken. Witnesses stepped forward, reluctantly but truthfully confirming what had happened. The school suspended Derek and Matt for harassment, and the administration announced a new policy for addressing bullying and inappropriate contact. Ava didn't just stand up for herself. She made sure no one else would have to go through what she did without support. In the weeks that followed, Ava began going back to the gym. The smell of sweat and leather brought back memories of Liam, but instead of pain, she felt his presence pushing her forward. She trained harder, not just for self-defense but for the confidence it gave her. Slowly, her circle grew, people who respected her, who saw beyond the shy girl they thought they knew. Months later, during a self-defense awareness event at the school, Ava stood in front of an audience of students and spoke. Her voice was steady, strong. "Don't let fear or shame keep you silent," she told them. "You have the right to your own space, your own safety, your own dignity. Stand up, even if your voice shakes." She looked out at the crowd and saw other quiet faces watching her with wide eyes. The way she once used to watch others speak with strength, she thought she'd never have. When she walked off the stage, she felt something she hadn't in years. Not just relief, not just pride, but a deep, unshakable sense that she had taken her life back, piece by piece, and no one could take it away again. The first time Ava realized the world wasn't always safe was when she was 11 years old. But the first time she decided she wouldn't be a victim anymore was the day her brother Liam placed a pair of boxing gloves in her hands. "You're small, but that's not a weakness," he'd said, grinning. "It's an advantage if you know how to use it." Back then, the gloves felt huge on her, but she loved the way they made her feel. Capable, strong, unstoppable. That was before the accident. Before the sirens in the middle of the night. Before the hollow-eyed look on her mother's face as she delivered the news that Liam wasn't coming home. That night, Ava took those gloves and shoved them into the back of her closet. Every hit she threw after that seemed pointless. What was the use of fighting when the person you'd been fighting for was gone? By the time she moved to a new town for high school, Ava had become an expert at staying invisible. She sat in the back of classrooms, avoided eye contact, and never, ever drew attention to herself. It worked, until the day it didn't. It started like any other Wednesday morning. The hallways smelled faintly of cheap floor cleaner and teenage sweet. Ava was heading to her locker between classes when she noticed Derek and his group leaning against the lockers ahead. She knew them by reputation, loud, cocky, and cruel. The kind of guys teachers warned students about but never actually punished. She tried to slip past without drawing their attention, but she felt the shift in the air before it happened. Derek stepped in front of her, a smirk curling his lips. "Hey, quiet girl," he said. "Why don't you smile more?" She kept her eyes on the floor and sidestepped. That's when Matt, his best friend, reached out and grabbed her chest. It was a touch meant to degrade, to strip away dignity. A couple of students gasped, most just pretended they hadn't seen. Laughter echoed in her ears. Her breath came in sharp, uneven bursts, but her mind was somewhere else. Years back in a dimly lit boxing gym, Liam's voice saying, "If they corner you, you hit first and you hit smart." She didn't react in the hallway, not then. She walked away, but each step felt heavier, hotter. She wasn't walking to her next class. She was walking toward a decision. The rest of the day passed in a blur. She couldn't focus in class, her hands trembling under her desk. Every time she blinked, she saw Derek's smirk, Matt's laugh, the looks on the faces of the bystanders who'd done nothing. By the last bell, she knew she wasn't going home without confronting them. She found them by the parking lot, leaning against Matt's car like they owned the place. Derek saw her first.
"Oh, look," he said. "It's the little mouse."
Ava's voice was calm but deadly. "You touched me this morning," Matt scoffed. "Oh, come on, sweetheart. Don't make it a big deal." "It is a big deal," she said. Then she dropped her bag to the ground. At first they laughed, until she moved. Her left foot slid forward, her body low, exactly like Liam had taught her. Derek lunged to grab her arm, but she twisted, driving her palm into his sternum with a force that sent him stumbling back into the car. Matt tried to grab her from behind, but she spun and delivered a clean, precise punch to his midsection. He doubled over, coughing. The silence afterward was almost louder than the laughter had been. Ava picked up her bag, her voice steady. "If you ever touch me again, I'll finish what I started." She walked away before anyone could see the tears welling in her eyes. Not tears of fear this time, tears of release. But her fight wasn't over. The next day she was called to the principal's office. Derek and Matt had claimed she attacked them without provocation. Sitting across from the principal, Ava's heart pounded. She could have lied. She could have minimized what happened to avoid trouble. But she remembered Liam's words. "If you want respect, tell the truth even when it's hard." She told everything, what they'd said, what they'd done, and why she reacted the way she did. At first, the principal frowned, clearly wary of getting involved in something messy. But then a voice came from the doorway. It was Sarah, a classmate Ava barely knew. "She's telling the truth," Sarah said. One by one, other witnesses came forward. Some admitted they were scared to speak up, but they'd seen enough. In the end, Derek and Matt were suspended for harassment. The school announced new measures against inappropriate touching and bullying. Ava's name was never officially mentioned in the announcement, but everyone knew who had sparked the change. In the weeks that followed, Ava dug her boxing gloves out of the closet. She went back to the gym, the scent of leather and sweat washing over her like a memory she'd been avoiding. Each punch she threw was for herself, for Liam, for every quiet person who thought they couldn't fight back. Months later, she stood on stage at a school assembly during a self-defense awareness program. "You don't have to be loud to be strong," she told the students. "You don't have to be big to be dangerous to the people who try to hurt you. You just have to remember that your worth isn't up for debate." When the assembly ended, a younger girl approached her, eyes wide. "I've been scared to walk home because of some boys in my neighborhood," she whispered. "Do you think you could teach me?" Ava smiled and nodded. "Absolutely." And just like that, the girl who once hid behind silence became someone others looked to for strength. Not because she was fearless, but because she decided to stop letting fear control her.